Hi, True Crime Grapevine fans. It's me, Patty Lee, here on a Friday night, here with the True Crime Grapevine headlines for today, Friday, September 15th. I hope this finds you all happy and healthy on the day of Rosh Hashanah, which is the Jewish New Year. And it is something there. The Jewish New Year is like 5874 or something, much longer than our the calendar we've been keeping, we being in the US because that's where I'm from. But love the holiday. And in fact, our first case sort of incorporates aspects of Rosh Hashanah. So Rosh Hashanah starts out the new year, and then there's a 10 days called the 10 days of awe, which are a time of reflection and um, where you think about making atonement for any of the sins that you've done the past year. And then there's Yom Kippur. And from what I understand, and I'm not Jewish, but I have had a predilection for studying Judaism through a number of books and just being very interested in history. And I don't know why I felt compelled to learn about it. Just not very, I mean, I'm definitely not Jewish. So, but what I understand is that Yom Kippur is the day when the book of the dead, like whoever's going to die the next year, their names are written in it and it is closed. And one of the reasons you want to make atonement is hopefully if you're going to die within the next year. um Look at, I feel, oh, whatever, I've been wearing masks all day, like you guys care, but there is more COVID in my house, not me, but it has been a crazy day. That is why I'm here so late. So anyway, what does this have to do besides wishing you all, and I forget the words I'm supposed to say in Yiddish or in Hebrew to wish you a happy new year, so I'm not even going to try, but I'm just going to say happy Rosh Hashanah. If you have apples and honey, that's the traditional food eaten. um and yeah, so happy new year. So Ellen Greenberg, um she would have been celebrating this holiday. She grew up in New York City, was born, she's the only child of her parents. And in 2011, she was unalived. And it's very much like a Sherlock Holmes mystery or like a book mystery, because she was unalived in her kitchen. It was a snowy day. She was a first grade teacher, so she wasn't at work. The story is by the only person who was living with her, her fiance at the time. He went down to the gym, and while he was gone, she somehow was unalived. When he returned, he couldn't get into the apartment because it was locked from the inside. It had one of those, I think, like those hotel locks in their condo. Um, Now again, there had been a big snowstorm, so she wasn't at work. There was no footprints supposedly on their balcony, and they were like on the third floor up, and the door was locked. But she was unalived by 20 stab wounds, including two, let me say it for the people in the back, two post mortem. If you don't know what post mortem means, it means after life. Post mortem, you're dead. And then, so it was ruled a self unaliving. And we all know YouTube doesn't like certain words, but a self unaliving. Now, I don't know about you, I'm not a doctor, but if you're already unalived, how do you strike yourself two more times? Is that possible with the physics and the biology that we know in this world? No, it's impossible. It just is. So it can't be self unaliving. I mean, not to mention 20 times, and in one was in her heart directly, and there were a bunch in the back of her head. And again, two after she was unalived already. So I don't know, maybe locks on doors could be lifted from the outside. Maybe that might be, I don't know, if we're not talking about breaking the laws of time and space. Probably has to do more with breaking the laws and somebody doing something by jimmying a lock open. And if you're interested, there are many true crime vloggers, bloggers. There have been many, even like 2020 and 60 Minutes have done stories on this case because it is so unbelievable that the ME said it was an unaliving. Now, why am I talking about this today? Not just because of Judaism and her faith, but maybe because there was an appellate court hearing. And the appellate court, that the parents wanted there to be a change from, self unaliving to homicide. And again, physics. And this is a one of those weird things where people are like, yeah, but paperwork. I'm sorry, we can't just change that. We are not authorized. The ME would have to change. A court can't reopen it. Can't make them. Sorry. Which makes no sense because this is obviously not possible. That it was like the answer is wrong as to basic physics and facts. So that is Pennsylvania has a problem. And I'm glad they caught Cavalcante, and that was great. And the governor showed up, and they all congratulated themselves. And that is great. I mean, it is great. But what is not great is that there is a simple, huge, glaring mistake. And the appellate court was like, we can't do anything, sorry. But we would like to emphasize that there was a, what did they say? But we would like to emphasize that there was a, what did they say? They actually said that the investigation was deeply flawed. Okay, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Because, I mean, and let's talk about Sherlock. What does he say? You have to go through all the possibilities, and the thing that's left over, even if it's improbable, that's probably your answer. And I am telling you, dead people don't stab themselves 2 more times. This isn't a movie. So the only thing that's left is that even though the door was locked, somebody else got in there and got out. That is what happened. Somehow, somebody, and I don't know who. I mean, I can make some guesses, but I'm not going to. You can watch those shows. I think Bailey Sarian and I know for sure Stephanie Harlow and maybe Kendall Ray, they've all done stories on the Ellen Greenberg case from Pennsylvania, 2011. It happened on January 26th. A first grade teacher. Oh my gosh. And she was only 20. Yeah, she was only 27 at the time. I mean, her whole life ahead of her. So, it should be reopened. And I'm hoping, if you watched the Surviving the Survivor, Joel has had her parents on Surviving the Survivor a number of times. So you can go to his playlist and find the whole rundown of the case and how her parents have tried to do this and how devastated they are. And in their religion too, like self-unaliving in most religions is considered very horrible. And they're not saying like you have to go find this person, arrest this person. They're saying change the cause and manner of death. Well, not the manner, but the cause of death. She didn't self-unalive because there is no way, if she was already unalive, that she stabbed herself 2 more times. Wouldn't have happened. Couldn't have happened. All right. So if you would like to, Joel on the Surviving the Survivor this Friday, today, he had a live and with Phil and Scott, as he does most Fridays, and he had a number to text the governor, Josh Shapiro, and I myself on my Twitter tweeted at him and just said basically, look, you have 10 days for Pennsylvania to make an atonement to these parents and put the accurate cause of death on, and get this and reopen this, reclassify it. I'm hoping he will do the right thing. And, it's the right time of the year. This is the time for atonements. And maybe he can make this right. Because otherwise, we've got problems when everybody can see, again, science and go, nope, close our eyes. All right. Second case. There was speaking of cases from the past that are being brought back to life. We have the case of, I don't know why I'm doing this, Terry Dowlery. So Terry was unalived in 1985. Um, this was in Wisconsin. So, and she was found, it was on February 14th, 1985. She went missing from her home in La Crosse, and her body was found without its head. I don't know. I'm sure YouTube probably doesn't like that word. Um, so she was found without her head 5 days later. So that is horrible, right? Well, recently, on Monday, I believe it was, the police in Madison, Wisconsin, contacted the county in which she was found, which is Vernon County in Wisconsin. And they contacted them because they had a patient in the um, Mendota Mental Health Center. Okay. So it's really not very easy to be kept in a mental health facility. And this person told a nurse that he was responsible for the death of Terry Dowley. Now, it's reported right now that the man in charge, the investigators, have said, we can't find any evidence that he, what did they say? They were unable to link him to her death, but he claims that he was a friend or a former friend of her fiance. So there is a link to her. Now, I don't, it's been 40 years. How can they link him to her death? I mean, he's confessing. Of course, he's in a mental hospital. So is he in his right mind? I don't know what his diagnosis is. But anyways, we will follow this story. It's interesting though, because obviously he's 40 years older. He was probably friends with her fiance. They were in their 20s. So is he old? Is he sick? Is he dying? Is he making some declaration to make his soul feel lighter if he has to pass? I don't know. But I wouldn't discount it. And he told this to a nurse, and then the nurse they made a call to the county in which she was found, which is Vernon County. So I think it's really nice that at least maybe we could get some answers. So I'm sure they will be talking to him. I'm sure we will hear more about this if it turns into something. And again, in the season of atonement, what a great thing this would be to have that solved. All right. Third case, last case. Lindsay Clancy. I don't know if you guys remember this story. This happened on January 24th of this year, and it was horrific. It was, now I can see her face, and I'm blanking on her name. There was a mother in Texas who at first was put on death row for Andrea Yates, of unaliving 6 of her kids. And she was having postpartum depression every time she had a kid. And her husband, I think they were very evangelical religious, very strict. He had a lot of control over her. They had been living in a bus at one time, and he didn't believe in medicine, so she wasn't treated. So every time she got pregnant, and I think postpartum, especially psychosis, can get worse with each baby. Well, anyways, it seems like the same thing happened to this Lindsay Clancy, and she had been taking, I don't know, a whole bunch of different medicines. She had an 8-month-old, and then she had a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. And this happened in Massachusetts. You guys, this is so sad. If you remember the story, she sent her husband out so that she could unalive the children in the basement by putting exercise straps around their necks. And then she went upstairs and jumped out her window. Now we know jumping out a window isn't great for you. In fact, I don't think it's gone to the jury yet, but there's still that case of the sex therapist in California in the Hollywood Hills who was thrown out the third floor balcony of her home by an ex-lover who had become obsessed with her. So this, we know then jumping, like being thrown out a window can unalive you. She was paralyzed. She, in February, had an arraignment from her hospital bed. And it's really awful that I think she was a NICU nurse. She was a nurse or a maternity nurse. I mean, and did not want to go back to work, was not feeling all right, was on all these medicines. And I don't know. So she got it. Why am I talking about this now? She got indicted today by a grand jury. And we know with grand juries, they do not have the defense there. The grand jury only hears what the prosecution is providing them, which it's pretty clear she did this. They don't have to say, well, and she has, this is what she says. That's not part of a grand jury. So she was, so indicting by grand jury, as we say. I am with Ann Taylor. Sorry, nobody's going to like that. But I think that if the prosecution chooses a grand jury, then it's a higher standard because there's no defense, rather than if you have a preliminary hearing to get that binding over for court to go to court. Because one is without a defense, the other one, you're allowed to question witnesses, you're allowed to present your own evidence. So when everybody said like, oh, that's so stupid that Ann Taylor wants to what is she talking about all this history? I think the history might be that there's a balance there. So, and the prosecution has whatever. When we want to get somebody who's bad, like everybody dislikes Brian Koberger, and he does look like a weird duck. Let's just be honest. We sort of, it's like what happened on 9/11 that we just celebrated, remembered. When we get very upset, we sort of forget about all the rules that we would apply if we weren't so emotionally worked up. And I think the legal system is supposed to like cool everything so that we can make fair decisions for everybody, even people that probably did it, even people who we don't like. And I just think, whatever. Now, what about bonding out for Lindsay Clancy? She was indicted by this grand jury. What about that? Well, don't worry about that, still receiving, she's at a medical facility. So she's being held there without bond. I mean, I don't know. They didn't say, there hasn't been a lot of reporting on her health problems, but I think she can't walk. I think she's paralyzed. So the woman will never see her 3 children again. She will never work again. Her husband said at the time he had forgiven her. I mean, I think she was very ill. Personally, postpartum psychosis is real. And unfortunately, it's just a horrible story. And I don't think prosecuting her, a paralyzed person, like she gave herself her own sentence. But people want to extract that pound of flesh. I don't know. Again, season of atonement. I don't know what will happen. The whole family is ruined, and I don't see what prosecuting her does because she's not going to be doing it anymore. And I don't know who we're protecting her from because I doubt she'll ever work. She won't ever work with children. I mean, the woman's life she's effectively given herself a life sentence. And it is horrific. All right, you guys, that was the 3 things. That's all I had to say. Besides that, what do I do when I watch so much crime all the time? Do you wonder? Maybe you don't. This is my little crafting and crime section. So if you're done with the crime part, bye. If you want to see what I do, look what I made. Let me show you first. I made a slouchy hat. I still have to weave in this one end. Do you see my slouchy hat? Okay. Slouchy hats or beanies were really big, I don't know, a couple of years ago. Let me take off my reading glasses. I'm just going to show you how it looks. Bloop, bloop. Bloop, bloop, bloop. And I'm making Icked Mills bloop bloop bloop. Oh, by the way, if you weren't watching Icked Mill, he so there was a crazy car chase last night out of California, and the guy ended up running into all the police. You guys, it was insane. Okay, so it's supposed to be a slouchy hat. Like, is it slouchy enough? Bloop, 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 like a slouchy beanie hat. I don't know. What do we think? My friends want one, so I thought I'd make it. I don't look that great in hats, but you know what? I think it would keep me warm. I don't know. Do you think it's cute? All right. Again, like I said, this isn't a craft. This isn't a knitting podcast, but I made a slouchy hat. All right, and that is all I have to say. Yeah, this has been great. All right, so hey, like and subscribe, or you don't have to. Just I mean, it'd be great if you could like. If you want to subscribe, okay. I go live Monday through Friday now, because I have my little crime kitties down there. I'm out on the porch, so they can't jump up and tap on my computer. Hopefully, I'll be able to do my tapings and upload soon again. But until then, I will see you next Monday, and stay safe out there. Watch your six. Keep your head on swivel. Bye.